Man phenomenon. There is a name that surfaces again and again in reports of nocturnal terror from every corner of the world, whispered by people who have never met each other, who live oceans apart, who share no language or culture, yet describe the exact same figure standing in their doorway in the dead of night. They call him the Hat Man. He is tall, unnaturally tall, sometimes said to bend slightly at the shoulders, as if his height were too much for the room to contain. He wears a long coat, dark as spilled ink, and upon his head sits a wide-brimmed fedora, the kind worn by men from another era, pulled low enough that no witness has ever clearly seen a face beneath it. Some say there is no face at all, only a deeper darkness where one should be, a void that seems to drink the light of the room rather than simply lack it. The stories almost always begin the same way. A person wakes suddenly in the night, not gradually, not from a dream fading into consciousness, but with a jolt, as though something reached into their sleep and yanked them out of it by force. Their eyes open and their body will not move. This is the moment researchers call sleep paralysis, a documented and explainable neurological state where the mind wakes before the body's natural sleep-induced muscle paralysis has worn off. But explaining the mechanism has never stopped the terror of what comes next, because it is in this frozen, helpless state that the witnesses say he appears, standing at the foot of the bed, standing in the corner by the closet, standing just inside the bedroom door, unmoving, watching. He does not speak in most accounts. He simply stands there, radiating a presence so heavy that witnesses describe the air itself growing thick, difficult to breathe, charged with a wrongness that has no natural source. The temperature in the room seems to drop. A pressure builds behind the eyes, and the overwhelming sensation, reported with startling consistency across decades and continents, is not merely fear, but a profound sense of being observed by something ancient, something that predates the house, predates the city, predates perhaps humanity itself. One of the earliest widely circulated accounts came from a woman in the American Midwest in the closing years of the 20th century. She described waking in her farmhouse bedroom to find the tall, shadowed figure standing between her bed and the window, the moonlight behind him somehow failing to illuminate any detail of his form, as though he existed outside the normal rules that govern how light behaves. She said the fear was not sudden and sharp, like the fear of a startled animal, but slow and crushing, building like water pressure the longer he remained. When she finally regained the ability to move, he was gone, vanished without a sound, without a door opening, without any trace that he had been there at all except for the cold that lingered in the room, for what she swore was nearly an hour afterward. What makes the Hat Man different from countless other reported apparitions is the sheer geographic and cultural spread of identical descriptions. A logger in the Pacific Northwest, a nurse in the United Kingdom, an office worker in Brazil, a retired soldier in Australia, all independently describing the same silhouette, the same coat, the same wide-brimmed hat, the same suffocating stillness. Paranormal investigators who have catalogued these reports note that, unlike ghost stories tied to specific haunted locations, the Hat Man appears untethered to geography entirely. He does not haunt a single house or a single town. He seems instead to haunt people, or perhaps, more unsettlingly, he haunts a particular state of human consciousness, appearing specifically in that narrow threshold between waking and sleeping where the mind is most vulnerable, and the boundary between what is real and what is not grows thin as paper. Some researchers who study sleep paralysis have proposed that the brain, caught in this liminal state, defaults to certain universal archetypes of threat, and that the tall, dark figure in the hat may simply be a shared hallucination, born from how human neurology processes fear when the body cannot flee and cannot fight. This explanation satisfies the rational mind, and yet it fails to answer certain details that recur with uncomfortable frequency. Witnesses in multiple unrelated accounts describe a specific detail, a faint smell, something like burning cloth or scorched fabric, lingering in the room after the figure disappears. Others describe electronic devices malfunctioning in the moments before his arrival, clocks flickering, phone screens flashing static, as though his presence disrupts something beyond simple biology. There is a particularly disturbing account from a man who lived alone in a converted attic apartment in an old building with a long and troubled history. He described waking 3 nights in succession to find the Hat Man standing in the same exact spot each time, beside a bricked-over doorway that, according to building records he later uncovered, had once led to a room sealed off decades earlier. Following an incident the landlord refused to discuss in any detail. On the 3rd night, the man said the figure took a single step towards the bed before the paralysis broke, and he was able to scream, at which point the figure did not vanish instantly, as in previous encounters, but seemed to fold backward into the darkness of the corner, as though the shadow itself were a doorway he had stepped through rather than out of. Skeptics point out, reasonably, that the human mind under extreme stress is prone to pattern seeking and suggestion, that once someone has heard of the Hat Man, their own sleep paralysis hallucinations may simply borrow his shape from cultural memory. But this does not explain the earliest reports, predating widespread internet discussion of the phenomenon, from witnesses who had never heard the term Hat Man before their own encounter, and yet described him in matching granular detail, down to the tilt of the hat and the particular quality of the darkness beneath its brim. What remains consistent across every single account, whether from a skeptic later converted to believer or a lifelong sensitive who claims a history of paranormal encounters, is the description of what happens in the final moment before he disappears. Witnesses uniformly report a sensation of something being taken from them, not physically, not violently, but as though some small portion of their will, their energy, their sense of safety in their own home, is siphoned away in that final instant of contact. Many say that in the weeks following an encounter, they find themselves unable to sleep with the lights off, unable to leave a closet door ajar, permanently altered by an encounter that lasted perhaps only 90 seconds, but left a mark that never fully faded. To this day, no photograph, no video recording, no piece of physical evidence has ever definitively captured the Hat Man. He exists only in testimony, in the shaking voices of people describing a night they cannot forget, standing at the edge of their bed in a coat as dark as the space between stars, his face hidden beneath a hat that has never once tilted upward to reveal what lies beneath it. And perhaps that is the truest horror of the phenomenon, not that he might be real, but that so many people, separated by distance and language and belief, have all seen exactly the same thing standing silently in their darkness, waiting for the moment they cannot move and cannot look away.